Hi, friends. This is Wendy Harrop, and welcome to the Say Yes to Yourself podcast. On the Say Yes to Yourself podcast, you'll hear stories from women just like us who are adding the practice of saying yes in their daily lives in big and small ways, and as a result, are experiencing the truth that everybody wins when you say yes to yourself. Saying yes to yourself is a graceful unfolding, an intentional becoming of the very best version of you. It is my hope that in these conversations, we are able to find our truth and be inspired and empowered to live our very best lives. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you, and I look forward to finding a bit of our own story in each other's. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited to have you here today and to introduce you to my friend and coach, Christine Santos. She has been my business mentor for, I think, 2 years. Wow, happy anniversary to us. Let me tell you a little bit about the amazing Christine. She is a business mentor working with her clients to grow their online businesses. She is an expert in positive mindset and growth strategist. She has 30 years of corporate experience serving in upper management, working with physicians, developing medical software. She has coached hundreds of team members and countless projects. She is a leader, mentor, speaker, certified life coach, international best-selling author of the book Authentic, podcast host, the Wonder Boldly podcast, and online course creator. She is passionate about helping small business owners make an impact in the world. She provides unprecedented support through putting you first, auditing your business, developing a project plan, and supporting you through all the details. She created her business, Christine Santos, LLC, that provides proven and time-tested solutions and services to build, grow, and expand your business. She is the host of the Wonder Boldly podcast, creator of the Harness Your Morning program, responsible for creating space for small business owners to own their morning and focus on themselves first so they can face their days with a positive and resilient mindset. I can speak to that. That is an amazing program. And I love my morning routine as a result of her fabulous tutoring. She is married with one child and believes you create your reality through your mindset. She is living proof of growing up at the poverty level, moving from apartment to apartment to keep costs of living down, racking up over $100,000 in debt, to making 6 figures, owning 2 homes, and having 0 debt. She is, in fact, living proof of what you can achieve with a positive mindset and the right support system. Wow, that is a lot. And she is a lot of fabulousness. And I am so excited to invite you to listen to this wonderful conversation with the amazing Christine Santos. Christine Santos, I am so happy to be here with you. How are you, my friend?
I am good. I'm so happy to be here too. Yay!
Yay is right. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me today. And I'm just really excited to dive right in and hear all the ways you are saying yes to yourself.
Oh, thank you. Yes, thank you for having me. This is such an honor and I'm so excited. And honestly, you know me very well, and I'm a very prepared, organized, whatever we want to call it. 30 years in corporate is really ingrained in me. And so in thinking about this, I thought, I got to prepare and this is what I'm going to do and say. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna. We're just going to let it flow. It'll be more fun.
I love that. I celebrate that choice, and I celebrate that as a big yes to yourself.
Yes, thank you. It is a big yes. And I hadn't looked at it that way. That's interesting. That is a big yes. Thank you for acknowledging that and making me see that. Yeah, I love it.
My great pleasure. I mean, I think just as you mentioned, 3 decades in a career, old habits die hard. And some of them are completely in alignment still. For me, 30 years as a wedding planner, I still love to curate a beautiful event for my client. I've just shifted my focus a bit. My client gets to wear whatever she wants. It doesn't have to be a big white dress. And her expectations are probably a little bit lower for what we're doing, and everyone's having champagne, not just her. There are also so many elements that are the same.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm glad you brought that up because that's so true in the fact of, I never want to come off, and I hope I don't, maybe sometimes I do, but with the impression of, oh, 30 years in corporate and ugh, or what a mistake, or never, never, because, for all of our journeys, that happened to be mine. Yours was wedding planning, right? We learned so much and benefit so much from that. That was like a phenomenal experience for me. I definitely worked hard and I climbed the corporate ladder and all the things. I am not a slacker in anything I do. So, it definitely was a lot of work, but I like to work. I enjoy work, whatever that looks like, right? And so, yeah, thank you for bringing that up because all of those skills and experience have allowed me to transition and say yes to myself in leaving my corporate job, right? So for me, at this point in my journey, my big yes, and talk to me in 5 years, it'll be something different, but my big yes was saying yes to leave my corporate job, right? And again, one more time, it's not because it was a bad experience or I couldn't wait to get out of there. It wasn't, honestly, it was the plan for sure. And we can talk about that, but it wasn't the plan when it happened. And we'll talk about that. But it was such a huge leap to say yes to, okay, I'm going to do this because you know what? It's big and scary, big and scary to leave whatever. For me, it's corporate, but whatever your thing is, it's scary.
And typically, big and scary, those aren't the characteristics of the thing that we run toward. So that's interesting that those were the markers for you that revealed that now was the time. Can you say more about that?
Yeah. So when I turned 48, it hit me, call it the midlife crisis, whatever it is, I was like, oh, wow, is this it? Not that it was bad, but it was just curious. Like it hit me. Like I wasn't a person that I pondered or journaled. I was in my corporate career, loving it, climbing the corporate ladder. And I can actually literally remember the place I stood, which was actually the ladies' room.
All of our best work.
All of us work with a colleague. And I remember saying to her, I'm going to live and die here. Like I am here until there's no more of Christine to give here. And in that moment, even then, that was maybe 10 years ago. I don't remember when, but it was a while ago. In that moment, when I said that, and I remember this, I thought something about that doesn't feel right. But I pushed it under the rug and continued on another 10 years or whatever it was, right? And when I turned 48, I was like, oh my gosh, is this it? Like career-wise, like, is this my thing? Is this how I'm going to end my career? Is at where I was and doing what I was doing? And something was just gnawing at me. And I remember I went out with a girlfriend one night and the bar had closed. We had gone out for drinks or something and the bar had closed. So we went to another bar that we thought was open. It wasn't, but the gentleman was still there, the proprietor. And he's like, all right, I'll give you a couple, I don't remember, beers or whatever it was, and you can sit outside. So we did. And I remember having a conversation with her and being, this whole new world of, I didn't know it at the time, but of there's something else.
Mm.
There, I didn't know. And I still think there's something else that I don't know. Right. And I remember her just being like, you're having a midlife crisis. It'll be okay. You'll come to your senses in the morning. We'll be all fine. Right. And we'll continuing on. And I never did. So so I'm 53 now. So from 48, I didn't even know what I was doing, honestly, but just diving into personal development. There was no plan. I just started diving in and like uncovering, and oh, this person's interesting. The Marie Forleos and the Robin Sharmas and the people that I navigated to. You navigate to your own people, but just that whole new world. And I can remember sitting with my husband and saying, oh my God, all these things are going on out there in the world that we have no idea about? Like, oh, what? And so I just kept going on and going on. And then I thought, okay, somewhere along the line, honestly, I don't remember. I'm like, okay, I'm going to start my own business. Still staying at my corporate, not like I'm going to start my own business and leave corporate. It's just like, I'm just going to explore. And I started developing t-shirts, which I think is the funniest story.
I did not know that. And that is the funniest story.
So as we can, I Googled everything. How do you develop t-shirts and sell t-shirts on Amazon and all the things? So I started getting into products and did that for a while. And then I got the bug and I was like, oh, this is interesting. I made like $23. I have no idea. It wasn't interesting because of the money.
What was on your t-shirts?
So I made a lot of kid t-shirts. So I made t-shirts for my daughter. I made t-shirts for friends, children, and they would buy them, so sweet friends, Yeah, so there were kid t-shirts and things like that, and little animals with sayings or something. Yeah, so then I was like, there's something here. And again, it wasn't, there's something here about money. I'm going to be a millionaire. There was just something. I don't know what it was. So then I thought, okay. So then I started to get serious. And serious being, I started finding out more about courses and programs and how to create an online business. And I am a person, Wendy, you know this, that if it's expensive, it must be great. It's the thing, right?
I love that about you.
Put down the money and it'll be the answer, right? And in some cases, sure. In some cases, not. And so I joined programs and hired mentors, really high for me. Let me be clear, very high-end mentors. So I definitely wasn't making money to support the high-end mentors and the high-end programs, but I was like, this is where it's at. This is what you do. And they were all really great. Not all, but the 80%. I don't know. Hold that out of there, but really great. And so I just kept learning more and more and more. And then I thought, okay, as I was learning, maybe I was being taught, I'm sure I was being taught that use the skill set you have, start where you are. So I'm like, wow, I am a hiring manager at work and I feel really bad. I walk these young people out and I'm giving them interview advice because they just flopped an interview. I'm not telling them that, but I'm saying, having those conversations like, oh, when you're in an interview, maybe we didn't ask you this question. Tell me about this. And really helping them hone their skills as we're walking out the door, because I know it didn't go so well. And more and more and more of that. And I was like, wow. And these are great people. And it's not that they don't have the skill set to get hired or they shouldn't be hired. It's just they don't know how to present themselves in an interview. So I'm like, that's where I'm going to start. So I started, reviewing resumes and helping people with interviews. I started all volunteer work. I joined a bunch of online groups that we all join and just volunteered my time. Like did people's resumes, did help them with interviewing and all of that. And that went on for a while. Then I monetized it. And then I was like, okay, that's not it. So let me try something else. So get certified as a life coach because, all the friends, if you're of this ilk, you reach out to your friends, you say, what am I good at? What do you come to me for? And they're all like, you need to be a life coach. This is what you need to do, So I'm like, okay. So, again, saying it in that way, like, I wasn't like, that's it, but okay, I'll try that.
I love all of this so much because they are just the next step. And you didn't even say, oh, I can see how life coaching is related to making t-shirts. So that's the obvious next step. They're not related, except for you were involved in both of them. So I want to hear what happens next, but I just want to acknowledge, I love how much you trust yourself and how much you continue to gain information about other things, but also about yourself in the process. And you can say, huh, this isn't quite it. I'm going to pivot over here. And it's not, sometimes there's slight pivots. I think as you get closer to what your thing is going to be, whatever your thing, I mean, I think it's 1,000 things. You only know what your thing is in the rear view mirror, never through the windshield, that's for sure. I love that you've given yourself permission to be on a journey and not berate yourself or take yourself out of the game, self-abandon, because you didn't pick the perfect thing on your first try and made all the money and wrote the book so that other people could think they could do that too.
Right, right. And I'll just pause there too to say, I think that's why we're drawn to each other, totally different paths. But I loved how you said you didn't take yourself out of the game. Like you and I can speak to this because we know each other really well. We don't take ourselves out. We just keep going. And I'm going to use the word failure. I think people are afraid of the word failure. I'm not afraid of it. I actually like it. So I'm going to use that because it feels right to me.
Perfect.
For me, there are failures. Maybe I paid, which I did, a lot of money for mentors that weren't the right fit. And I should have done some more research or whatever the thing is.
Right. We only know what we know.
We only know what we know. And when I say failure, I want to define that. So for me, failure isn't, when I use the word failure, I'm not saying this thing was horrible and I was, taken back for years. I had to scrape myself. That's not what I mean. Sure, we've all had those places in our life. But when I'm talking here and now about failure, it is, in my opinion, for me, I made the wrong decision. But you know what? That led me to something else. And I'm glad that I did. Truly. And I know it's like cliche, but I truly am, because you learn and you have building blocks, right?
Right.
And so I don't shy away from that word failure. I know it can be triggering for people, but I like to just, for me, call it what it is. So sure, along my journey, and I'm not talking like the t-shirt wasn't a failure. That was a success. I made $23 and I was like, awesome. Oh, okay, there's something here. Let me try something else.
I love it. Right. It's feedback. It's feedback. We fail forward.
We fail forward. Absolutely. So I got certified in being a life coach. And I think that was really part of my corporate background. You need the titles, you need the certifications, I'm still there. Let's be honest. I'm not done with my corporate persona, and nor maybe never will be. I don't know. So I did that and I got involved in that, and again, made a little bit of money doing that. And so then I was like, okay, people do this. Like, this is what I was saying that I said to my husband, like, do you know that people do this? Like, people start their own businesses. I'm like, prior to that, I'm like, it's all a scam, or, whatever you think, like, oh, please,
like breath work.
Right.
I know that there's a certification process and it's long and all of these things. And I think it's fascinating and fabulous that you can make money telling people how to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is awesome.
And for your audience, it's legit, by the way. Like,
oh, totally.
Oh my gosh. Like breathwork sessions, you should get in on some of those because they're fabulous.
Yes, they are. But it's still amazing to me.
Yeah.
Because it's breathing.
Right.
But if you don't know how to do it in a way that is not just for your moment by moment survival. Yeah, there are lots of things that we know how to do or that just come naturally. And there are so many ways that those things can be honed in a way that is of better service to us and of great service to others. And that's an opportunity.
Exactly. Agree with that 100%. And I'm just going to add one thing there, and that is the receiver needs to be in the right mindset. So,
Right.
So if we, and I learned that through my life coaching and some of my mentors, because, and this is why I do what I do. I know that people like yourself, I latched myself to you. I'm like, this woman is amazing and she has so much to give. And I want to help people give. I want to help people first reflect on themselves and then give their gift, right? And you have an amazing gift.
No,
And
thank you.
I get really passionate about it. And sometimes people aren't ready. You're ready. You're great. You're doing great, right? But I've had clients that aren't ready. And I've talked to my mentors about that and been like, this, that, and the other thing, whatever the struggles were. And they're like, they're just not there yet. And no matter what you say, they're not ready yet. And that's so true. And I've always held that to be true because I am a very passionate, I'll use that word, person. I'm like, oh my God, you do this? You need to have an online business and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh. So the same thing with breath work. Like you could go into a breath work session and it could be the best breath work session for somebody else. But if you're not in that space yet, and there's no right or wrong, that's fine. You're not going to receive it the same. So it's being, like we take these programs and join groups and you might hear the same things over and over, but it's at that moment when you hear it in that way. Maybe it's the person delivering it, which is great. And also I think it's both. The person delivering it might speak to you, and it's also that moment that you're in, that you're ready to receive that.
Right. You're the vibrational match.
Yeah.
Of this energy exchange that's happening.
Yeah, exactly. So did the life coaching, did that, still do that. And also because I am so tactical, and you said something to me once, I forget what it is. What do you say? Like, don't tell Christine something if you don't want it done or something.
You are a woman of action.
A woman of action.
My cousin Beth is the same way. My cousin Beth is a realtor. So friends, if you are looking to buy or sell a house in Lexington, Massachusetts, please call Beth Sager. But do not call Beth Sager if you are thinking about buying or selling a house. Because when you mention it to her, she will already have 3 viewings lined up. So you don't talk to her when you're thinking about selling your house. You talk to her when you have decided.
Right.
And it's the same with you.
Yeah.
Like you are a woman of action. And I love that because most times it lands and yay, we got it done. And even today we're like, oh, remind me afterwards to do that thing. Actually, let's just do that right now.
Right.
And then we did the thing. And I so appreciate that about you because as you mentioned, you consider failure a form of feedback and we're failing forward, and being a person of action just gets you there faster.
Right.
So good.
Right. And so I just want to tell a funny, right? So in regards to that, for me, when I joined this space, I'm going to create my own online business. I came in, I didn't have a Facebook. Maybe I did have a Facebook. I didn't use Facebook. I'll use the word use instead of didn't have it. Didn't use Facebook. Definitely didn't have an Instagram account. Nothing. It's quite interesting to me, a very private person. And from my own experience, very cautious. So, I thought, oh my gosh, if I start an Instagram account, people are going to be looking in and they're going to be knocking at my door. And I don't know, this is wow, this is huge. So I remember sitting at the dinner table with my family, my husband and my daughter, and I said, okay, guys, I have a very supportive family. I'm very lucky. I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start an Instagram account and I'm going to put my face out there. Like, can you believe it? Now, mind you, in my corporate job, traveled presentations, I love to present. As you can tell, probably by this episode, I just love to be a public speaker. So it's not that, but it was more the fear of strangers, which we can talk about another time, but it was like, there was a fear there. And they're like, yeah, go ahead, do your thing. And we support you. I said, okay. And I can remember the first time I posted, I think it wasn't a video, it was a picture. And I'm like, here we go. They're going to be knocking on my door now. It's going to be a thing. Nobody responded. Nobody called. I'm like, oh, and it was so freeing.
Yes.
I had a coach at the time and she really walked me through that. And it was so freeing because now if you look at my Instagram account, like you cannot not see my face, like,
right? I love it.
But it was so freeing and so funny. In hindsight, it was a true fear, and I'm not laughing at fears because we all have our, things that are challenges. And it was real for me at the time. And now it's awesome to be able to just be like, I've come so far. And it's kind of fun.
I love that. And I love that you listened to your heart and made a decision with yourself that now was the time.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, I don't want to say fear is healthy. I think I want to say discernment is healthy and intuition is healthy, very healthy. And then there's resistance. Mm-hmm. And resistance can sometimes come in the form of our ego or some part of us that is just trying to keep us safe. And, sometimes that's our head talking to our heart when they're not on the same page. And when your heart is telling you this is the right thing, and your head is telling you, who exactly do you think you are? And settle down there, miss. And no one's going to buy your thing or go on your trip or make your pancetta sage turkey. I don't know why they wouldn't, but maybe somebody won't, that your heart, in my case, my heart had a conversation with my head that said, it doesn't matter to me if this isn't for other people. I'm doing this for me. It is for me.
Yeah, I love that. That's beautiful.
And I can trust that. And so just like, if I cry, it means I'm not lying. So even if I'm talking to myself and I start crying, then I know, oh, all right, well, this is the real deal now. Did you hear that, Head? She's crying. So exactly. She's not lying. And we're doing the next thing, push live, and let's get this over with, right?
Exactly. And so the same. So I just kept on this journey, and because I'm so tactical and action taker, I was really interested in helping people grow their businesses, get whatever their message is, whatever their gift is, serving people, because that, and true to my true core, is, I might cry and I don't cry. That is my true core, is that I want to help people. I just know without a doubt, people have so much potential. And that's where I get to that point where, like, Christine, they're not ready. I'm like, okay, I'll wait, but there's so much potential. And to help them share their gifts means so much to me, because I can't, you can't, not one person can do it all, right? We need each other. I can't make a turkey. What kind of turkey was it?
Pancetta sage.
Pancetta sage, not happening over here. But you can teach me. And that's the other thing, I think that just dawned on me. That's the other thing I'd like to say is we learn so much from each other. Circling back to the beginning when I was sitting with my husband saying, do you realize there's this whole other world out there that it's beyond what we're doing? And you learn so much from each other. And that's just so beautiful. So beautiful. You don't have to learn everything. Like, don't get stuck there. I will say that that's going to be in the ebook. Don't get stuck there, because I get stuck there. Just learning from each other's gifts. I don't have to be a wonderful cook. That's not my thing. I'm not diving in there. Maybe in 20 years I'll dive in, who knows? But right now, right? You curate beautiful trips and bring these women on that say yes to themselves. Like, amazing. Amazing. Thank you for doing that. I'm not doing that. We can all learn from each other. So I, kept going on this path, and really right now, current time is helping people grow their businesses. I'm just so passionate about it. I've aligned with some beautiful, including you, of course.
Yes, I was just going to say, you exercising your gifts and doing what you're great at has been such a catalyst for me giving myself permission to do what I'm great at.
Thank you. I received that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. That's like beyond. Now I'm going to cry, and I don't cry. So anyway.
Come on in. The water's fine.
Yeah. I know, right? So I started to get a plan because I am an action taker. And then I had been on this journey. I'm 53 years old now. I'll be 54. My husband keeps telling me, you might as well just round it up. You're going to be 54 in a month. I'm like, okay. So been on the journey, and I was like, okay, so this is possible. All your listeners, this is possible to follow your passion, to do what you want to do, to live. I literally, and this is not cliche. This is not some hoopla. I literally pause multiple times a day, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love my life. I love my life.
100%. I'm with you.
Didn't do that before. And again, not because it was terrible, but just that was what it was at the time. And now I've moved into this space. So I'm like, okay, I'm on board. This is what we're going to do. And I said, well, I can't do this until I pay off the mortgage, to be really detailed, because I'm a detailed person. It's like, all right, so I'm not going to leave my corporate job that I loved and do this full time, because it's not practical. The whole financial, you got to think of all these things. And I was there, I'm completely honest. I was there and doing my thing. And, they say, let your 9 to 5 support your 6 to 10, and that was my plan. In maybe 5-10 years, it wasn't like a solid plan, but the plan was pay off the mortgage. Then my mother got sick. And part of the reason why I wanted to, because I was having so much fun, by the way, doing my own online business. It's so much fun, is it not?
It's so fun. I can't imagine anything else.
Oh my God, it's so fun. So it's fun. And I wanted to spend more time with my mom, my husband, and my daughter, just have a different life, different time schedule that I could dictate. And so she ended up getting sick, and I took a leave from work I had to take care. I didn't have to, I wanted to take care of her. And she's fine now. And I had the opportunity, thankfully, great company I worked for, to go back and, continue on my path at work and do my thing. And I was like, hold up. Is this the sign? Is the universe saying, what do I have to do to convince you? You don't have to pay off your mortgage. You can make this work. There are other ways, right? And now, please, and I want to always be clear, because I know I get so passionate, I'm not professing or saying to anybody, quit your job and go over here. There was planning. This is a snippet of the reality of how it all went down. I sat down with my books and the accountant and, all the things. So,
Yes, you're so good for me in that way, because those things do not delight me. And you are so gracious, because it's important. I would way rather dream than look at those numbers, but it's important. And I don't have to like it, but I have to know it. And so I don't have to be my bookkeeper, that's for darn sure, but I do need to know my numbers. And you're so gracious in the ways that you just sit there on the Zoom call with me while I do the thing that I won't do if you're not sitting there watching me not do it.
Right.
So, there are so many elements to all of this, entrepreneurship and just life in general. some of the things totally delight us and are in our wheelhouse. And there are some other things that we just need support.
Exactly.
And you're allowed to not love every single thing, but find a way that at least allows you to tolerate it, because being an avoidant princess is not what you want either. We're queens, and a queen gives herself permission to be supported and does things that she needs to do for her queendom.
Exactly. And receive. So
Yes.
in that example, like for you, getting a bookkeeper, somebody that you don't spending Wendy time, let's be honest, my opinion, on learning accounting and bookkeeping, even though you don't like it. If you could see her face, or she's like, oh,
Imagine my face, friends.
yes. Even though you
That's the
don't
one
like
I
it,
made.
you do things, let's be real, you do things you don't like because,
Yes, I do.
yeah, because it's part of the process. But
Because having a business delights me,
yes,
I can do this part of it.
right. But in the example of the bookkeeping or the numbers, spending valuable Wendy time, and this is for your audience to hear so that I want you to feel like where you're spending your time, if it feels good, that's where you should spend it. That's where
right.
it doesn't have to feel bad. So you are not going to start serving other people and doing their bookkeeping. That's not going to be your thing.
Thank God.
So spending your time learning all of that is not a efficient way to advance your business. So you receive and you look for others in support of others who also, right, are their own business owners, and you need their service. So
That's right.
it's like a beautiful circle.
Yes, it is. They don't need to know how to make the cookies.
No,
They can do the books. I will give them the cookies. It's a beautiful circle.
it is. It is. So with my mom getting ill, I had a really fabulous mentor at the time as well. And I can remember, again, I'm a person who remembers like where I am. I think a lot of us are like that. So it's those really big moments in our life. So I remember where I was. I was in my house downstairs in an office and on the phone with this mentor. And I'll say that I was having the conversation with the mentor saying, is this a sign? Is the universe screaming at me? Like, hello, we're trying to tell you. Leave that behind and move to your next chapter. Right. And actually, my mentor was like, well, could you stay there and do this? And, I heard that and, we talked about it and ultimately, and that was a great conversation. And I'm still with that mentor, but ultimately I was like, and it was actually really good that they said that because it was the catalyst for the yes. Like it made me feel so bad. So like, that's not right. Hearing that person say that, because that's what I would have said to myself, right?
Sure.
Yeah, just stay and keep doing the thing. And you can still over here do this and make this all happen. That was the catalyst for me to say, well, that and my mother getting ill, for me to say yes to myself. And I have been diving in ever since and learning along the way and have amazing people in my life like you and who support me and who hire me and who mentor me and all the things that if we go back to the beginning of my story where I was so afraid to put myself on social, I never would have met these beautiful people.
I love that.
It's all a big yes.
One yes after the other. Oh my gosh, that is so amazing. So now that you are out of corporate for an amount of time now, what are you working on and how has that pivoted and what are you saying yes to today?
Thank you for asking. So today I am saying yes to this really strong passion that I've kind of, I guess we would call it imposter syndrome, in that really helping people grow their businesses and really saying yes to, for me, being in corporate for, we'll just say 30 years is obviously, is obviously a long time. So when we're looking at a 5-year adventure journey of entrepreneurship in my own business, for me, I'm not where I want to be. I want to continue to grow and continue to learn, and all that's great. But that also brings in that imposter syndrome, right? So this past year, I have really let that kind of, it's there, don't get me wrong, but kind of let it simmer down over here somewhere and really just dive into helping people with their businesses. And again, so fortunate. I just feel so fortunate to have met and aligned with people that I can truly help.
Right.
And that's really so important to me, is that really, like, I need to feel like I'm actually helping you move the needle. I paused there because I think there's some of my own stuff there that I still need in personal development, but that's where I am right now. So working with these, yourself and some other wonderful clients, helping them grow their business, that can be from, meeting and chatting and helping them see where they're maybe forced up against a brick wall. Sometimes people are like, I'm stuck. I'm really stuck.
Right.
And helping them see it from a different perspective, to just having a conversation, and then the juices start flowing. Like, well, let me ask you this question. So I think that that's one of the really nice things about the work I do with my clients, is the business coach and the life coach. It works well for me. So I can kind of weave it all in, and it speaks well to my clients. So really helping them move the needle. Also, that action side of me that I like to do tasks. It's almost like this apology. And I don't know where that is, so I'll work on that. But I like to actually do, like, tasks. So I'll
Right.
do social media, I'll edit your podcast, whatever the thing is of the day. I'm not saying, for your audience, by the way, I am not a professional podcast editor. Let's just say that. I'm
Right.
not a professional social media. But can I get in there, roll up my sleeves, and help out? For sure. For sure. So all of that is sort of, it's the life coach, it's the business coach, it's the project planning, it's the year planning. I get that from corporate, how to break down a big goal. We developed a multi-million-dollar product in like 5 years. So having that knowledge and ability really lends well to helping entrepreneurs plan.
Which again is so good. Like, I love planning. So as a wedding planner, 50% of my job title was planning. And in the past couple of years, as I've just invested in myself and have kind of dove into the personal development pool, and I'm learning all of these things, I find that I've traded in my planning enthusiasm for dreaming enthusiasm, which is way more in my feminine than in the masculine, more tactical ways of how to get there. And your presence is such a help for me because I can dream all day long, right? I have no problem dreaming, and I can implement the dreams, and it's so good. But we were just doing our whiteboard session a couple of weeks ago, and I said, oh, I have this retreat in Paris in August, so since I already need to be there, I'm just going to be there for the month, and I'll curate some trips while I'm there, and that will be so great. And then you reminded me that that's when the farmers market is, which is also when my peaches are ready. So it's good. Like, okay, dreamy Paris girl, let's just see how, it's not that you can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, there are some trade-offs. There are other parts of this machine that are moving that need to be considered. And I think that is so helpful because it's true. There are a lot of things to consider, and I am still going to be there for the month of August. And I was able to make arrangements for those other things rather than, I mean, I'm not saying this like, oh, I don't have a thought of my own and I don't remember things. It's not that. It's just that you hold this really beautiful container that allows me to dream. Like there's still helium in my balloon, but there's also a really beautiful double-faced satin ribbon hanging from the balloon that you have a hand on that helps me
Oh, thank you.
stay connected to all the things that I'm passionate about. I'm actually a balloon bouquet, I think. But there's lots of balloons up in the air. And so I appreciate that because you don't have the giant needle popping my balloon, but you are just really great at reminding me, like, are you going to be the balloon or are you going to be the ribbon right now? Like what would you like to do and how can we work in tandem to get to that place? And just like you investing in your mentors and me investing in you as a mentor, this and I know this, all of the answers are inside of us. And what this investment does, for me at least, is you've just hold space. Of course, you give me all sorts of wise advice and action items, and I welcome the coaching. So you require things of me that would not be on the top of my list, when there's a reason that they should be moved up in priority. But it's giving myself that time and space to be available for the conversation, to be available for the personal inventory, the checking in with myself, what feels in alignment, all of those things are great. And we know that they're important and we know they've worked for us in the past. If you don't ever give yourself the time and actual space to ask yourself the questions and sit with the answer and journal and experience them, 40 more days will pass.
Yeah.
3 more years will pass. And you can't, I can't put my life and my dreams on hold like that anymore. I used to, living in California, wanting to live in Massachusetts, I physically limited myself. I would allow myself to dream about it for 30 seconds at a time. And then I would just shut that thing down because I wanted it. Like, it's like if you have a toothache and it doesn't hurt, so you bite down to make sure, like, oh yeah, still have a toothache. Like, I just want like, I would let myself dream about it and then hard stop. And now I know in these practices of meditation and visualization, it's like I was the one blocking the manifestation of the thing I wanted because I kept shutting it down. But I thought I was doing it to protect myself.
Yes.
And I thought I did the same thing for wanting to be a mom.
Yeah.
Like, I really want this and it's not happening for me right now. And when it does, it's going to be this, that, and the other thing. And beep, 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 beep. Okay, 30 seconds. Let's move on to something we can do. How about cookies? Let's make cookies. It's probably why I'm so good at making cookies. When I, wasn't able to act on the things that I wanted to come together, I knew that if I creamed together sugar and butter and added some flour and eggs and vanilla and some chocolate chips, something really good was going to come out of it.
Thank you for sharing that. I love that. And, you have this ability to dream really big and inspire other people to dream really big. Like that is a huge gift that you have. I've seen it in action, right?
It's a good gig.
It is. And like so you're much more in the feminine and I'm much more in the masculine. We talk about this. So I'm like, okay, like, let's do the things and let's talk about, like, I would never, you had a post recently on social media about people rolling eyes or something, or like you just said here, popping I would never do that. I am like, oh my God, I wholeheartedly, I can't even get the words out, believe in your dreams, in your dreams, other people's dreams. Like, there is a reason that that is on your heart, as they say, because it is meant to be something. It's not the exact thing, and that's okay. Like my story, right? It doesn't have to be the
Right.
exact thing. So anyways, to stay on track. So you have this beautiful ability to help other people really dream and really feel it. So it's not like, oh, that's all just woo woo and I'm just dreaming, but oh, okay, I can see that. You possess that, and that is such a gift. And then you can hand them over to me, and then I can be like, okay, this.
How are we going to make this dream happen? That's right. Because we don't have to figure it out.
No.
You self-professed more in your masculine, maybe on the day to day, and you didn't wait until you figured it out to do the first thing, because we won't do it. And I don't know if this is the thing until I start doing it. And like, all right, well, that was fun. Thankfully, I live in a place where there are actual seasons. So some things naturally shut down, and sometimes they don't ever come back.
Yeah.
And sometimes they come back over and over. It just depends. I'm spending time with myself. I'm spending time with clients that these offerings are in alignment for, and then we're discovering things together. I was just this weekend with a friend at a retreat with my business mentor, Gina DeVee, and I'm so happy that I invest in myself, because getting myself in the room and taking my seat at the table, because I do belong there, there are so many connections and there are so many revelations and epiphanies, again, because I've given myself the space, the container to do that. But one of the women that's in my mastermind is a luxury travel agent, and she posted pictures from her recent trip to Iceland. Like, oh, well, maybe we should curate a trip together to Iceland. So, like, okay, so I did my favorite Fridays and said, hey, what do you guys think? You want to go to Iceland? And 3 people DM'd me, yes, please. When is the Iceland trip?
I love it.
And so it is. Like, that's how these things happen. They're just being available, and we'll try it. Maybe we love Iceland. Maybe you only need to go there once. I don't know, but I will, and I'll tell you all about it.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. And that's some of the things that turn out to be the most beautiful, is when we take that action. So here, this woman, Iceland, and you're like hopping on your Friday Live and saying, hey, who wants to go to Iceland? It was in the moment, you said it, and it just so happens that 3 people are like, yeah, Iceland, okay, when are we going? And they talk about this a lot, like, and they being like in the programs and all the entrepreneurship and just being authentic and just going with the flow. And obviously there's tactical things. I'm not saying there aren't, especially me, I'm not saying there aren't, but just feeling into and starting with yourself is really where to begin. If you look at our journeys, mine and yours and other people's journeys, it all starts with us, and creating the ebook right now, that's where we're starting. That's where I'm saying, start with yourself. Like, start with where you're at. You might not even know what you want to do. There's something there, and you're like, but I'm not sure. That's great. That's great. You're starting. What's the first thing that comes out of your mouth? Write it down. Tell a friend, whatever. Just like you did. You're further along in your journey, obviously, but it was something that came to you and you said it.
Yep.
It's all the same. It's starting in the moment, starting with you. That felt right to you in that moment. If that didn't feel right to you, you wouldn't have said it. Right?
No, that's correct. I love that. And I want to hear more about your ebook. And I want to say that giving yourself the space to dream is so important. And I don't think that we allow ourselves to dream with any regularity. So if you feel like you need to schedule a space to dream, I'm planning space to dream. Like for New Year's, I'm doing these entertaining with live weekends, and you were with us for the fall one, and you're coming for December as well, which is so great. I'm going to do one over New Year's Eve as well. And it will be less about entertaining and more about introspection. So we will be dreaming. We will be creating mantra cards with our word of the year. We'll be writing letters to our future self to open next New Year's Eve, and just giving ourselves space to investigate and then implement. What are we going to do? What are the next 3 steps we can take in January and February to get closer to this dream that we've identified? And I'm so excited. And of course, there will be tons of champagne and crab legs and chocolate fondue, as one does. But it's just it's permission to dream, and you're allowed. In fact, you're encouraged to do it more often.
I love that. And that's so beautiful for so many reasons. 2 I want to highlight is encouraging to dream, creating a space where it's okay to dream. Like, because sometimes if you're not in the right space around the right people, the dreaming is a little uncomfortable. So creating that space of comfort to dream. And the other aspect of that I love is the 3 steps. What do I do? How do I implement? And not because I'm an implementer, but because it's 3. Let's not let ourselves get overwhelmed and kill the dream.
Right.
Dream big, do it all, what feels good. And then just 3 steps. And they're whatever is right for that person.
They're next steps.
The next steps.
Just the 3 next ones.
Yeah, whatever. And it is by no means, and I talk about this in the ebook, linear. Like you and I talk about this a lot. 100%. It is not. That is not the path. And embracing the detours and embracing I tried this and wow, this is really, I never even knew that was something I was interested in.
Right.
All the twists and turns, embracing them all.
Right. This has been so amazing. I have loved this conversation so much. Please tell everyone where they can find you. We'll link everything in the show notes as well, including your fabulous ebook, but let everyone know where they can find you and learn more about your journey.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. We could talk forever.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. We should do this again. I'll have you on the podcast. So your audience can find me on Instagram at Christine B. Santos, B as in boy. And my podcast is Wonder Boldly. And I also have a Harness Your Morning program. We didn't talk about that today, but that is really the same sort of thought around starting with you. So creating a practice in the morning that's starting with you, whether that's exercise, journaling, meditation, all of the above, whatever. So my program, Harness Your Morning, the ebook isn't out yet. It's coming out for the holidays. And following me on social media, listening to the podcast, I so appreciate the support and sharing it with your friends. I am not really good about Facebook. I am on Facebook, but that is not I would say go to Instagram. That's not my one-stop shop on.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Christine. I can't wait till our next opportunity to chat.
Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Have a beautiful day.
You too.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. As always, any links or notes mentioned can be found at phineaswrighthouse.com in the podcast section of our site or in the show notes below. And if you haven't connected with me personally, Come find me on Instagram at Phineas Wright House and let me know you listened to this episode. I'd love to get to know you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I know your days are full, and I'm really grateful that you chose to spend some of your precious time right here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of these delightful conversations. I'll see you next week.